guys, welcome to Winsup Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. We are in the city again doing some more cleanup. We're going to be digging some anemones today, putting these vegetable garden beds to bed a little bit more for the season since they are done. I'm not in a place that I can do a lot of winter gardening. I do have some heat cables, 2 of the troughs on my driveway, but that's more for early spring work than fall. If I'd been thinking a little bit better, I would have pulled some pepper plants sooner or had some lettuce starts going so I could have elongated that, but I didn't. So something to do a little bit better for next year. But for me in general, this is the time that I start putting things to bed. We had a hard frost a week or two ago that completely took out a lot of things. So we went ahead and cleaned out this space in our previous video. We're gonna spend some time today putting the plastic down, getting bits and bops out of the bed to try and prevent seedlings in the spring, as well as doing some more cutting back. Speaking of cutting back, the first thing we're going to do that I wanted to explain a little bit before I got into it is I'm going to go around and actually chop all my dahlias to about probably 8+ inches from the roots. Let me kind of show you. I've already done it to one of them. So we actually did this so we could have a little bit more move, but what I'm going to be doing is coming by and chopping it like this, all of them. You can see that they were definitely hit by frost, but not quite hard enough for me to be able to dig them. Looking at the weather, I'm not sure exactly when that's going to be happening, so I'm going to help this process along a little bit so that I can pull these out in a time frame that works for me. So what I'll be doing, I might come back and cut this down a little bit further, is I'm going to be bringing it about 8 inches to a foot off the ground, and I'm going to let that sit for a week. You never want to completely dig your dahlias while they're still growing. That means that they're green tubers, they will not store as well, which means you'll have less success likely over winter. So what I'll do is I will cut these, which will kind of force them to go dormant. So by cutting them down and waiting a week, that'll give the tubers time. It'll send a message to the tubers and give them time to kind of store the energy, do whatever they need to do so that next weekend I can dig all the dahlias. I have had mixed success with dahlias, I will be honest, in storing them. So I am by no means an expert or a how-to guide. I'm still trying to figure out what works best for me and my solutions. But I do know that this is something that you want to make sure you're not digging them too early, or that you've given them a chance to go dormant, even if you're forcing them to go dormant. So that's something we're going to go around and do today. I've got some iris to cut back. There's a couple peonies and hostas we missed. I'm going to be going to the front yard and doing some of that. I noticed I didn't get to the phlox last time, so I'll cut the phlox back as well, because anything in terms of what you want to cut back in the fall, you want to think about things that are either diseased or harbor fungus or disease. So hostas you definitely want to cut back in the fall. Peonies you want to cut back in the fall. Phlox, especially if it's an older variety like some of the ones I have that might be prone to powdery mildew, cut that back and get it out so it's not getting into your soil. It'll probably still powdery mildew next year, but you want to make sure you're setting it up for success. Iris, you can cut back. You don't have to cut back. Some people say don't. I've never had a problem cutting it back, and I like to do more in the fall than in the spring because there's already so much going on in the spring anyway. So things I don't cut back, sedum. I probably won't cut those back until early spring because they've got a really pretty structure. In general, I don't cut back hydrangeas. I did mention in my last video that there's some along my driveway that had a bit harsher cutback than they normally get, mostly because I need to be able to get in and out and have a place to put snow, because I'm in an area that gets lake effect snow, which means that I get a lot of it. I don't know what our average is. We get a decent amount of snow. It's not uncommon for us to regularly get snowstorms that dump 8+ inches on us. So I need a place to put it, is the long and short of it, especially when I'm cleaning my driveway. Hydrangeas I don't recommend doing. Don't do evergreen plants like hellebores. Don't cut those back. Shrubs, I did Perennial in general. I do think it's a good idea. So something I am going to do is come and do this guy. What I'm going to do is actually just take it back a little to get all the seed pods off, because I don't want them dropping. And you'll actually see that underneath I have a seedling problem. I'm kind of surprised because I would have expected this to be a sterile variety. A lot of newer varieties of Althea are, but this one, it looks like it's got some spotting. But you see all of these guys? These are all Thea seedlings, so I don't want them here, so they're going to be pulled. I actually don't think there's anything in here other than a blueberry bush. So what I'll probably do is come in, chop it to about here, so that all of these, which are seed pods, aren't here. So it'll come back pretty tight. And it's because this is what happens. Do you see this? They split, and that's how the seedling goes, and I don't want that. So I do that in the fall. I don't really cut back grasses unless I have to, because again, winter interest. And I don't do anything with my roses until early spring. Still a lot to do. I'm gonna go through and chop back all my dahlias first, just so that I know I get those done. I also want to cut my grass today because it's such a nice day. Yeah. Oh, I will also cut back things like yarrow, veronica, anything like that that comes straight from the top and might inhibit its growth. Salvia I'll cut back. So this bank right here is probably going to get a lot cleaner in the next little bit. So I'm going to get you guys set up. I'll probably go through and do our cutting before we start getting the plastic out, because I want to cut the grass before I get the plastic out. There's a crop plane. You'll probably hear a lot of lawnmowers and a lot of blowers. I haven't started raking yet, but it's a coming. Progress has been made. I thought I'd show you a little closer before we shift to a different area. You can see that I've spent quite some time cleaning this. So I've cut all the dahlias back on this side of things. I've also cut back the iris. I am going to come back and get the ornamental onions. I thought about leaving them, but I'm not going to take the greens, just the tops, because they'll flop soon enough. I cut back the salvia. I cut back some of the yarrow blooms. I'm going to cut this back and I clean this all up. I always like when that's looking so much better. Normally I would cut back the crocosema right here, Lucifer's tongue, but it is showing like almost no signs yet of dying back, and I like to wait until it's further along. So I'm going to leave that at least for another week or so. I'll probably want to get it done before my dad comes, but for now it's good. I was going to point this out before I did it. I am going to cut this sedum back. Normally I leave it, but that has been completely decimated by the frost, so cut it back. And then over here, I cut back all our dahlias, pulled the cosmos. Oh, pretty little tufted titmouse. Then as we walk around here, you see the bigger difference. Oh, I also cut back phlox in this area. But you can see here the massive difference just a couple hours max. So these have all been cut back. This I might come and do a little bit better, but I am gonna come back in with like a shovel or a rake, kind of use it as like a big scoop, get some of this out and throw these away rather than put them in the compost. But I wanted to show you guys this up close. I did cut this back. I got most of the seed heads out and it's a decent shape. It does need some more shaping, but that's something I'm gonna wait for the spring for. I need to create a little more airflow inside, probably make it a tiny bit tighter, and I'm thinking this might shift. If the Althea over there moves, I might pop this over there instead. Something for me to think about this winter as I'm trying to figure out what's what. So next I'm gonna stay in the backyard. I'm just gonna flip the camera towards the house because I've got some dahlias and pots I want to cut back. I need to decide what I'm gonna do about some of these pots. I generally use soil 2 seasons, sometimes 3, recharging it a bit before I start over. And most of these are at start over point. So I think I need to figure out what to do, but I don't know if I explained this well. My dad's obviously not here. So what I'm doing is creating a giant pile on the driveway that he's gonna come and get in a week or so. Rather than bagging it, because that's already probably 4 or 5 bags and it's not even a full trailer. So I don't want to put obviously heaps of soil over there, and I don't really feel like lugging stuff right now. What I think I'm going to do is cut back the dahlias, things like this mint and the chives will get cut back, and then they usually actually get tucked back here for the winter in a more protected place. So I'll probably move those. And I'm going to think about moving some of the other containers as well. I'm going to leave the anemones. I was going to pull them, but since I'm not going to be pulling the dahlias right now, I'll pull everything at the same time. And that means I'm probably not going to put stuff to bed until next Sunday, which is when I'm digging all the dahlias. So like, and by put it to bed, I mean doing that plastic thing, because it's kind of, I need to do a better job labeling them. So what I'm probably going to do is get out all of my black plastic, kind of spread it out on the lawn, and then I piece it together based on the size of the beds. So I also, though, have some garlic that I was contemplating planting. I don't know if it's even good. It's kind of old. I should probably do that today. I might do that today. We'll see how it goes. I have about an hour and a half left, and I do have some things in the front I want to do. So let me guys get you set up. We'll finish up here, and then we will move to the front. Okay, everything is done and tidied away, so I thought I'd give you a quick little rundown of what we got done and a closer look. And I did this off camera, but I even mowed my grass. Looking so good. So we got this all cut back. All the dahlias and pots I have cut back now, and I did end up moving the ones from the front that were small up. So we walk around the side. You can see I got that phlox cut back. I also took after this. This is an Althea that I suspect was planted by the birds. And I haven't done the best job of managing it in the past, so I tried to get, I can see I missed some, tried to get all of the seed pods, cut back those dahlias, and then in the front, it's looking a little bit different. I do want to point out how beautiful the Japanese maple looks right now in its fall color, especially with the grand old maple near it. I need to get the blower out. I'm not going to do that today though, but I did cut back everything here, do a little rearranging, and then we took after mostly hostas over here. I don't actually think there's anything else I will cut back. I left these iris because they're all babies and they look really good, so I want them to be soaking in as much growth as possible. But here's one of the ones we planted recently. I'm going to talk to my neighbor. These peonies are there, so I didn't cut them, but I'm going to ask if I can. I don't think they'll have a problem with it. But it's looking nice and clean. Well, other than the leaves. I think that's going to do it for this video. It was probably almost 3 hours worth of work. Oh, you know what I don't think I pointed out? I took out all the cages over there, and I gathered up all of the tomatoes and whatnot and threw those away. I know I said I was going to, but I didn't compost those. Put them in a trash bag, put them in the garbage can. But isn't it amazing how much more open it looks, like with all the vegetables gone and things cut back? You look at it now and it's obviously very full, but you're like, oh, there's space. There's not. In the spring, even more so than now. Oh, it's a very windy day, so it's kind of magical with the leaves falling, but there's not space. I need to remember that. But I know I didn't do an October tour because everything had kind of gone past its prime with some of our frosts, but I hope even just clearing up right now, I can see some of the autumnal beauty. Like even look through here. I don't know if you can see it, the leaves just dancing and coming off the trees. Our street is lined. This isn't as old as some of the others, but our street used to be lined with these maples. I actually had one right there in the verge, but they looked like this. Oh, and they were just glorious. I mean, it was a pain to clean up after, but so worth it. But they've been slowly dying out because they're reaching the ends of their lives. This is probably one of like 3 left on our street. Mine was probably the start of it, but that had to come out a couple years ago. I've been thinking this winter it might be interesting to go through some of the videos. Like sometimes took videos for myself before I started vlogging so I would know where things were, and pictures to kind of give you guys a little bit more of a history of my yard and how it's changed since I've owned this property. So I think that might be a fun winter project when it's nice and snowy and we're dreaming of warmer days. But for now, I'm really happy with what we got done. I have a little bit more to do. I know didn't get the vegetable beds cleaned up more than just, the fallen tomatoes out. But everything in time. I've got a little more time before my dad comes with his trailer, so I can keep adding stuff to the pile on the driveway. So I hope that this was enjoyable for you. If you liked this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.